วามานุสานัมพุทโธภะคะวาติเยจะพุทธาทิตาจาเยจะพุทธานาคาตาปัจจุบันนาจาเยพุทธาอะหัมบันดามิสัพพะตานัตถิเมสารนัมอัญญัมพุทโธเมสารนัมบารัมเอเตนะสัจจวัจเจนะโหตุเมจายมังคลัมอุตตมังคเลนะวัมเดหัมปัจจปัมสุวารุตตมัมพุทเทโยคาลิโตโตโสพุทโธกัมมัตตุธัมมามัมสวากขาโตภะคะวะตาธัมโมสันทิติโกอะกาลิโกเอหิปัสสิโกโอปนัยโกปัจจตัมเวทิตาปุริญญูหิติเยจะธัมมาอทิตาจาเยจะธัมมาอนาคาตาปัจจุบันนาจาเยธัมมาอะหัมบันทามิสัพพะตานัตถิเมสารนัมอัญญัมธัมโมเมสารนัมบารัมเอเตนะสัจจวัจเจนะโหตุเมจายมังคลังอุตตมังคเลนะวะเตหัมธัมมัญจติปิดัมวารัมธัมเมโยคาลิโตโตโสธัมโมคัมมันตุธัมมามัมสุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอุจุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆญาณปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสามีจิปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆญาติดัมจัตตาริปุริสายุคานิอัตถปุริสปุคลาเอสะภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆอาหุเนโยปาหุเนโยทักขิเนโยอัญญาลิการณิโยอนุตตรัมปุญญเกตัมโลกัสสติเยจะสังฆาทิตาจาเยจะสังฆานาคาตาปัจจุบันนาจาเยสังฆาอะหัมมานามิสัมปะทานัตถิเมสารนัมอัญญัมสังโฆเมสารนัมบารัมเอเตนะสัจจวัจเจนะโหตุเมชัยมังคลังอุตตมังเกนะวันเดหัมสังฆัจจติปิตุตมัมสังเขโยคาลิโตโตโสสังโฆกัมมัตตุมัมมัม Why do I use the word non-self? Most of the time when you read about anatta, they talk about not self. There's a lot of essays been written about anatta. That says that anatta is not no self, but not self. It seems a bit confusing, but I hope by the end of the talk you get a sense of what anatta is. Now, when I use the word non-self, I'm talking about an experience, not a state. The experience that of a spaciousness and awareness of things that are around you, and there's no preoccupation with the center of a being, that we see things out there as they are, existing as it is, without any relation to the person who is seeing. Relationship comes when there is the grasping of what's out there. There is, soon as there is the idea of an object that's out there existing, then the subject will automatically appear, because we have been conditioned to thinking that there is an object, there must be a subject. When there is an experience, there must be an experiencer. Now, how did that all come about? Well, it came about through our use of language. Most languages, you have a subject and object. There's an I, that's something which I want. There's an I, and there's a you. So we always, in our daily thinking, in our daily use of the language, it is somebody interacting with something or with someone. That's embedded in our language, in our thinking. And that constant conditioning, that's me, that's you, you're doing something for me, I'm doing something for you, I'm acquiring this, I'm giving up this. Well, that's just through our use of language, we're conditioned to the subject and object. And when we first come to cross Buddhism, and we hear that things arises and passes away, Dharma arises and passes away, there's just the experience, right? It's a new view, it's a new concept, a new view. The view that there is I, an experiencer, and there's the experience, that's also a view. So this view, we have been conditioned with this view that becomes a very strong intrinsic belief of a person doing something. So what the Buddha teaches is we have to really look at this person called I, this subject. Is there really something, that we have attached to this I? It's better in our language to understand that. But is there really something? A person that executes something, that does something. And the first thing the Buddha says is that, well, if there is a person who's in control, who's interacting, can he not decide that he wants to have great feelings all the time? Right? Okay? So is that possible? You want to have no unnecessary spurious thoughts. You want to have good thoughts all the time, pleasant thoughts. Is that possible? There's actually a person who's in control. You want to have good, happy consciousness, no depression, to lack any states of mind that we like. So he poses this question. If there is somebody, there's a person who's in control, then it must be possible to be able to select what type of feelings, what type of consciousness, what type of thoughts you want, what types of perception. And we realize that it's not possible. And it's not possible because Buddha says things occur according to dependent origination. Because there's contact, feeling arises. Because there's feeling, craving arises. Depending on craving, clinging arises. Depending on clinging, there's becoming. And it's dependent on what occurs previous. That's why it's called dependent origination. So contact is very important. Contact feeling arises. And the feeling that arises due to contact is condition or past conditioning. And that's how the way works. That's how things arises within us. So the Buddha says, well, a person can be divided into materiality and non-materiality, nama, rupa, nama. In non-materiality, we can subdivide it into feelings, vedana, sanya, perception, sankhara, thinking, vijnana, consciousness. Because those are the four prominent things that we encounter in our daily life: perception, feeling, thinking, consciousness. And that's the body. So we asked to investigate if there is a self, does it reside in the body, in the feelings, in perception, in thinking, or in consciousness? So that's what we are asked to see, we are asked to investigate, find out actually the belief that there is this experience is true or not. The path of non-self is not practiced by trying to figure out what no self is. That's where a lot of beginners go wrong. I went through the same mistake as well when I first started practicing. No self, I tried to figure what self. Yeah, there isn't anything there. What it should be like, it should be something like this, like that. Yeah. So you've got an idea what no self is, each of us, no self, anatta. What happens is that when we do that, the mind creates something for us. That's it. So the mind creates the self, which is no self, an entity called no self. It's great, we have this no self. We have this entity, we don't realize that, but we actually have this entity. And this entity is impervious to pain. It is cold, it's not compassionate, can be cruel, it's a way of defending against all these impulses that's coming towards them. I have no self, nothing can happen to me. Right? If somebody else has no self, nothing can happen to them. Like kind of wrong thinking. So when we practice the path of liberation through anatta, not self, we have to go through the path looking at what self is. In the daily life, we know what self is, Yeah, I have this self-hate, I have this self-abuse, I have this selfishness, everything related to self. You know very well, So we start from there. Start our idea that, well, there is this self-hate, Why is that there's this self-hate or this self-abuse? So we start trying to establish this sense of self first. And from then we start to break down, see what's the core. Right? And we have self-hate because there's something that we don't like that's within us. There's this aversion. This aversion comes through a feeling, and this feeling is conditioned. And if we investigate, we will find out that somewhere in the past we've been conditioned. Been conditioned. Conditioning could be from our parents, from our friends. Oh, you're not good enough. You can be better. You can do better. We absorb this idea. You're not good enough. That's probably true. So because you're given the reason, you can do better, you can do it this way, that way, whatever. That's all conditioning. All conditioning. Conditioning comes from another person's perspective, another person's idea of you, the friend's idea of you, the parent's idea of you. That's a perception. Right? So they build a self of what you should be like. So we inherit that perception of what we should be like. In the case of body, society demands a perception that, we should look like that, slim, tall, whatever, But that's conditioning. That's conditioning. So we have all this conditioning within us. And we believe in this conditioning. Because usually it comes from above. our parents, society, peers, magazines, everybody says so. So we got to break through all this conditioning, all this perception. That is a perception of self which causes suffering. In practice of the path of non-self, there are actually two types of practices you have to do. First is to reduce your own suffering. If you do not reduce your own suffering, your mind is not composed enough. Your mind is not composed enough, you cannot develop concentration. When I mean by concentration, I usually mean concentration and mindfulness, meditation, samatha. So we got to reduce this suffering that we have, that's going on in our mind. That's the path. You just reduce this suffering, just enough to have some measure of composure. Then we can develop concentration. And how do we reduce this suffering? We reduce this suffering through insight, by seeing the things that we believe, conditioning. Am I really like that? He says so, but he doesn't think so. So you got to examine. And we come to know that it's just perception, people's perception. Their perception depends on their previous conditioning. They read about books, they like, their conditioning, what they like. They go to a bookstore, they don't buy books they don't like, they go to buy the book that they like. Yeah, the conditioning, right? So people's conception of earth is their conditioning. So we must know that. Okay. Once we know that, then we come to believe less about the views of the self that they have created of themselves. So that's the first part of the practice. Well, to practice, to have this kind of insight, you still need a little bit of concentration. So the path of practice requires both concentration and insight. Why concentration? Well, if you want to see an object and it is like that, you can't see what it is. So you need concentration to hold on to it. Then you can magnify it, right? And see what it is. Seeing what it is, right? You still don't know what it is. Say, well, yes, it's something like this. Yeah, it's probably envy, right? But then you have to use insight, just to penetrate it. And the insight practice is to see the characteristic of things that arises. Specific characteristics. And what are those characteristics? The characteristics of impermanence, that they don't last. Right? That they come and they stay a bit and then they pass away. And then they arise again. And then from this seeing of impermanence, we find that, well, it is suffering. Nothing lasts. Things keeps breaking down, decay. It doesn't last. So the first step is seeing the impermanent, seeing the dissatisfaction with things because they don't last. And when things are impermanent, they arise and then they pass us away. We can't actually attribute an essence to the thing, whatever it is, because we can't hold it for that long. Even though, let's say that we have this feeling that there's this self coming, this subject that comes up because it grabs onto an object. And after the grasping is gone, the subject disappears. So you get, wow, at that time there's a self. You know, it's true, there's a self. There's a arising of the self. Then it's gone. Next time there's another arising of the self. And then it's gone, feeling of the self. So there is an arising of the self and a decay of the self. But because of each arising, the self is different, depending on the object that's grasped. So we cannot say, well, there is a self. You know, it is that self. There's so many selves, and they arise and they pass us away. So it doesn't make sense to say, you know, that there is a permanent self. It doesn't make sense to give any power to this self, because the self is dependent on the thing you grasp. If you're grasping at something blind, this certain self comes up. If you grasp on something that you dislike, a different self arises. Self with hate, self with craving, self with delusion. Right? So which one are you? Right? So you are, if you like, you can say you are, depending on the object that you're grasping. And if you're not grasping onto an object, no self arises. So that's the first part of the practice. To understand that what we feel is dependent on what we are grasping at. How we are at a particular moment is dependent on contact, just on contact and on conditioning. So we come to realize, see this truth. To actually see, I have this feeling, what's the contact, what's the object of the contact? Color purple. Why do you not like the color purple? Trace back to the version of purple. Whatever. So when you are successful in doing that, then you come to the actual practice in itself. And the actual practice is looking at the 5 khandhas, 5 groups that make up a person. Body, feelings, perception, thinking and consciousness. And then we have to actually investigate through seeing that all these 5 khandhas are impermanent. Because they're impermanent, it is not possible for a self to exist in one of these 5 khandhas. And if we say that, well, the self doesn't live in feeling, but the self feels the feeling. And then he asked the question, well, if the self feels, can the self change the feeling? And he said, no, it's because it depends on contact. So if the self is there and can't do anything, everything is dependent on contact. The self is just like plastic, it does nothing. So what good is that self for? Right? It's a non-entity, it couldn't do anything. It's something we created, the plastic. Right? So you have to investigate this, learn to investigate, to see that because of impermanence, it cannot have a permanent self. There is the other aspect of investigation, where when we eventually come to see that things are impermanent, it doesn't have any essence in this, you feel disenchanted with it. There's nothing in it. It rises and then it disappears. You know, we have this. But soon it's going to decay. Whatever we eat changes. Whatever we have, it lasts, but up to a period of time. So the path of non-self is through investigating to see where there actually is something in the five khandha. That's the crux of the practice, where we investigate to see things like self-hate, feelings and everything. That's just to reduce the suffering. So we've got to do the both practice in parallel. And when do we get a breakthrough? How far do we have to go to make a breakthrough? We do not have to go very far to make a breakthrough. We have to understand nama and rupa just enough for the heart to see that it's not possible for self to live in the body, nor is it possible to live in the mind. And once that happens, you are able to let go. You are able to see the body and the mind as two different khandhas, two different things. They can be related, but they are different. So you see them clearly as being different. Further along the practice, you start differentiating between the non-materiality of the mind, the nama. You start to see feeling, differentiate between feeling, perception, thinking and consciousness, seeing each of them clearly. The next thing to work is with feeling. It's attachment to pleasant feeling, aversion to unpleasant feeling. And feelings, we know, just last that long. That's it. Cannot maintain it. Whether it's good feeling, bad feeling, it's dependent on the contact with the object. we maintain the feeling by remaining constantly in contact with the object to create that feeling. That's all we do. Memory, bad memories. We recycle that. Good memories, we recycle that. And with that feeling, we have a kind of attachment, a satisfaction, of feeling bad. Sounds strange, but there's something sweet, about this feeling bad that keeps us going. It recurs. So when we know that feelings, either good or bad, is impermanent, doesn't last, it's only maintained through our persistent contact with the object. It's very artificial. Then we learn not to do that. We learn to let go. It's in the past. We let go. It's a memory. Just a memory. And in that memory, we have this person that's been mistreated. The self whom we identify with. We come to see, well, that is just a memory. That person is not this person. Alright? So whatever that person has been mistreated in the past, it's in the past. There's nothing to do with this person now who's here. Who's doing something else. Who can be doing something else. Can go skiing, scuba diving. Right? Have a great meal. It doesn't have to recycle. So we have to know that the memories of the person we identify with, the self, not real, just mere memory. But that's kind of satisfaction. Maybe it's revenge, a sweetness. You get a little bit of justice. Want to play it out. And so we have to learn to see this perception, which is also memory, perception akin to memory. And then stop that sankhara, thinking, papancha, proliferation of thinking. That's how we progress. By looking at self. And feeling, perception, then when it comes to consciousness. So when we progress, as we look at the self that's created within this khandha, and not believe in it and see it for what it is, we make further breakthrough until we come to a fine state. After we have seen that there is no self in all the five khandhas, we still have this sense of self a sense of presence, a reference point that even though there isn't a sense of self in any of the five khandhas that I know about, there's still this me that's present here, and there's this environment, you know. That's a very fine point of self. Self as a reference point. I can quote one of the famous Horosman Kolachan Mahabua. He says, when you see a room is empty, the room is not actually empty until you leave the room. Because when you see the room is empty, there's still the reference point from which the room is seen as empty. Alright? So total emptiness is when you have the room, and the room is truly empty. So if we talk in terms of emptiness, it's that in the first stage of breakthrough, you come to realize that there is emptiness. What we mean by that is that all things are empty of self. Right? There's no essence in it because it rises, passes away. There's no abiding person or even abiding essence. And on the second stage, we see that clearly. It is empty. Right? This is empty, everything is empty, we see it clearly. On the third stage, everything is empty, and then we abide in this emptiness. There's still the abiding of the emptiness. And then the last state, a true state of not self, anatta. Right? In that state, there is only emptiness. Well, I leave you all to figure out that out in the last stage. And what is this path of non-self to self? This path of non-self to true self is actually the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta that we are going to chant at the end of this evening. I think I'll read a bit of excerpts of the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta before chanting. I think what we can do is change the schedule a bit. I want to take some questions for some time, and then after that we'll do a meditation, and then we do a bit of reading of a translation of the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta. The Anatta Lakkhana Sutta is the characteristic of not self. Well, in my talk, I'm so used to using no self when I should be using not self. Right? But it actually, but so long as you understand the difference between non-self is an experience that you learn together as you go through the path. Even though you still make a breakthrough, you still have this sense of self. Yeah, that's me in the memory, let's say self in memory, self in intellect. So that you go through a path of non-self. And you actually reach the path of not self. Then every trace of any sense of self disappears. Total emptiness. And no self is a superego. It's not. It's something you do not want to create. So you never try to figure out what no self. Whatever you figure out, whatever you conceptualize, that's my meaning. And if you want it, the mind will give it to you. And you have it, you're in big trouble. Because you have to break, you have something extra to do. You throw that away before you start on the path again. So it's not something like that. Yeah. The thing is, in your daily life, when you sense a strong sense of saying, why is he doing this to me? Yeah. Then you try to change your view. Change your view. He does that because of his perception. Nothing to do with you. Every one of you have a perception of who I am, what I am, how am I, and that's your perception. You want something concrete. And your perception is your condition. Nothing to do with you. I said, well, it must be this way. I like the way he sits. No, I don't like the way he sits. I like the way he talks. No, I don't like the way he sounds. Perception, like and dislike. The thing with likes and dislike, preferences, is that it can turn into aversion or attachment. So when we go through the process, the path we go through is when we see things as they are, which is they're impermanent, don't last, they'll be satisfied today, so won't have any essence, then we are disenchanted with it. Nibbida, that's the Pali word. After we go through a state of disenchantment, we become dispassionate with it. That's viraga, dispassion. Only then, when we become dispassionate with it, can we have vimutti, we are liberated from it. Then we go through another cycle, looking through another khandha, feeling, become disenchanted with it, nibbida, become dispassionate with it, feelings, high, low, fed up with it. Become dispassionate, oh yeah, so become dispassionate feeling, oh yeah, this is a nice feeling, oh yeah, this is not a bad thing. Become dispassionate with it. Then vimutti, we are liberated from feeling. So we see feeling is, yes, that's a nice feeling, that's our content. Yes, that's a bad feeling, that's my conditioning. That's it. Some people actually like the cold. People coming from Southeast Asia, they like air conditioning, they like being in air conditioning, so when they come in, whoa, great! And now it's really cold. I remember there was one time when I was back in Malaysia, my mother's place, and I was staying in air conditioning. And then when I opened the door in the morning to get out, my first thought was, who put the heater on? So it's my condition because I've been living here for so long that when it's warm, then somebody put on the heater. It's expensive to put on the heater. So in the morning when I opened the door, I said, who put the heater on? That's the first thought. It's natural. That's my condition. It's interesting. So when we go through this enchantment, dispassion, liberation, and the last bit become is called the knowledge of the destruction of the asava, the knowledge of the destruction of all the defilement. I think that the Pali word is asava kayena. So we go through all this step until the last step, and we know that destroy all the defilement. Okay, question time. Anybody? You can speak a bit louder, I'm really hard of hearing.
I want to ask that you mentioned that I think it's good to just let it go when the bad old memories is just recycling all the time, and maybe do you mean that through this practice then we can gradually achieve non-self? But also I'm wondering that I don't think to be dispassionate about everything is a really good attitude toward life.
I have to depend on Simon to repeat the question because I can't hear that.
Whether it's good to be dispassionate towards everything in life.
Dispassion. I'll explain dispassion. You have to understand this passion is, you don't have this passion for things that are good and things a good feeling, bad feeling. But underlying that this passion, there's a lot of compassion and loving kindness. Right? So when you reach a state of this passion, it doesn't mean it's blank, there's nothing, it's dark. When you come to reach of this passion, you come, wow, that's great. There's a lot of joy, there's a lot of spiritual joy, a lot of happiness, a lot of peace, a lot of compassion, a lot of loving kindness. Right? And what you're not passionate about is all the arising of this feeling out. So the question is, you have to be dispassionate with the five khandhas. Right? When we see the world in both ways. Right? You see the world in a conventional way, that is conventional reality. Mother, father, parents, car, right? Money. And then we see the world in ultimate reality, that there is only these five khandhas. That's the body, feeling, rupa, body, feeling, perception, thinking, and consciousness. Right?
I have a question. I think each individual is different, and different individuals have our different characters, our different natures. So these are all different. That's why I think how we generate our concept of self. But I think it's just because of this our different nature, our different capacity, our different gifts. Then we have different potential capacity to do the different things, to do different good things for the other people. Although we all have compassion for all the other living beings, other living creatures, but because of the self, the different selves, then we have the self, the concept, and then we can do the different thing and fulfill our true nature, our true self. And how do you explain that?
Simon?
Yeah.
I think we don't need it.
We all are different individuals, and it's because we have different individual characteristics that we have a different self. Yeah. So maybe that's a good thing that we all have something individually different to contribute to other people. Is that clear? Yeah.
Okay.
How does that achieve non-self?
Yes, that is true in one level, at one particular level, right? But on another level, is that if you come to know about Dhammas, if you come to know about Dhammas, right? The teaching of the Buddha, you come to know about how to reduce suffering, right? A way to reduce suffering, then you're making biggest contribution to other people, right? Because what people in this world are looking for is happiness. You get a new iPod, iPad, or whatever, they're happy. That's all they want, happy. They're not happy, they go and see a psychologist, they go and see the doctor, they talk to their friends. That's all their people are searching for, happiness. But they search it in the wrong way. Right?
Yeah, I agree with that. But my question is, how do you think of to the concept of self as regarding ourselves as all different individuals have different capacity, different nature, and to fulfill our own dreams, to fulfill our own capacity to contribute to the other with all our compassion to the other society, to other things.
Again, how do you reconcile the idea of us having an individual contribution?
Our individual characters.
With, our individual character, we have something individual to give, yeah?
That's what I've said. That is your individual contribution is a particular level, right? The individual contribution is valuable, right? Valuable in conventional society, valuable in a that's the value of it within conventional society. When you enter a spiritual path, the contribution to society is different. So you have to figure out which is better, right? Which one is more valuable. To be able to lessen your friend's suffering, or to give him a new iPad, right? Or to be able to help him clean the house, or to be able to be a good support, to be able to reduce your friend's suffering, right? So the contribution is different. We change, right? Our value towards society. We come to think that the gift of Dharma is the highest gift. The ability to lessen somebody's suffering is higher. I mean, that's my point of view, compassion for people who are suffering, to do no way out of the suffering. Right? So we tell them that there's a path, there's a way. Craving is the cause of suffering. Clinging to that craving causes suffering. Wrong view causes suffering. Because of wrong view, people argue. Let go of the view. Let him have his way. Right? So that I think is a more valuable thing.
I agree with that. I totally, completely agree with the point of view that we should try our best to reduce the suffering for ourselves and also the other people, our friends, people around us. But what I want to ask is, because the different individual characters generate a feeling of different selves, and so that's why and that's how the concept of self rather than non-self exists so strongly in our hearts, and I think it's also just because of our own different characteristics, different natures, and we have different ability to do different things, and this concept of self actually could also help us to make different and great contributions to different aspects of, for example, to reduce the suffering to other people. And then I just want to ask, how can you reconcile this concept of self with what the other aim to be non-self, and how could that be reconciled, and how do you think of this?
Simon, a little bit.
That we have a different sense of self, each one of us, because of our individual character. And it's how we can reconcile, because of this we all have something unique and special to give to society.
And also to reduce the suffering to other people.
And to reduce suffering to other people.
Yeah, we have different ways to do different things to reduce the suffering and contribute to the society. And how does this concept of self
Continue, yeah.
Is it, do you mean that something like, if there's no self, how are we different? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. If there is no self.
Yeah, in Himanta's suggestion, if there is no self, how come we are different?
Because of our conditioning, the way we are brought up, our culture, the books we read, what we are taught, believed to be right and wrong. So we are different only in that way. Right? Whether it's good or bad, that is up to society to judge. We are conditioned beings. Some are conditioned to be good, some are conditioned to be bad because they mix with people who are bad. And some people mix with people who are good, they're conditioned to be good, they're taught to be good. So that, our personality, who we are, is conditioned being. So the idea of attaining a state of no self, non-self, not self, is to do away with that conditioning, to not be, to act, speak, or live according to the conditioning. So if you like, we have the unconditioned mind. So we respond to people according to their need. So we respond to people according to their need. We don't respond to people according to what they think they need. Right? Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
You see, the thing is that
No, I'm sorry, but maybe we can stay back later. There's tea, biscuits. We can have a very nice discussion.
Yeah,
I think it's very interesting, and I would like to join this discussion. So
Thank you.
Okay.
maybe we can go on meditation now.
There are some.
You mentioned at the beginning of the talk, can you hear me?
Yes, a little bit, yeah.
I have a father who's almost 102, so I'm used to talking loudly. You mentioned that we are conditioned by our parents, our family, our society. Do we not also condition ourselves in order to adapt?
Yes, that's part of the conditioning. Yes, sometimes we meet in with bad group. We have to condition ourselves to be like them, to be able to survive in a group where it is bad. That is the conditioning that we have to, because we want to survive.
So does this conditioning not actually help us in relationship to this lady's question? The whole format of the society that we have to fit in, unless we go and sit on top of the mountain by ourselves, enables us to act, if we have a further understanding, very positively in society.
Yes.
So we need the conditioning.
Yes, that's true. That's true. That's
We
why I say.
need the differences in culture and in.
That's why I said that it is so at A level. It is A level, right? A level in the sense that we have good conditioning. We are taught charity. We are taught compassion. We are taught to do a service to others, help the poor. All those conditioning, those are good things, right? But this is when we come to across the Buddha's teaching. What he wants us to do is to not become from a person to a good person, right? But he wants us to become a great person, right? And a great person is the Arahant, right? So he thinks we are all capable of doing it. We have the ability to do it, right? Just like Buddha himself, right? He trains for aeons to be a Buddha, and when he becomes a Buddha, he developed a Buddha Sasana, and the people who come after him benefited. I benefited from Buddha's teaching, right? So I'm following his footsteps. See, I want to be a great being as well, you know. So when I become a great being, hopefully I can inspire others to become. There are people like in the forest tradition. I mean, I speak on the forest tradition because that's the only tradition that I know. You know, I read about people like Achan Man, Achan Cha, and all his disciples. So monasteries like Chitta, Amarva, teaching people how to reduce suffering first, as a first step. Because a lot of people suffer from depression. A lot of people suffer from, and that no matter how much happiness you have, suffering is much greater than the happiness they have. I think one mathematician worked out, for one. For an amount of suffering you get, you need something like 2 times √2 or whatever of happiness. So it's not equal, just to be equal. Well, that's a mathematician. I can't remember what it is exactly. It's a formula. So reducing suffering, that is most important. That's what the Buddha teaches. It teaches nothing else. He said, what do I teach? How cessation of suffering. That's what he teaches.
So is compassion not also a feeling?
Compassion?
Is it not one of the conduits?
Yes, the Buddha teaches out compassion for people who are suffering.
For all sentient beings, not just people.
If you have, you see, there is. That's why I have to see. You can see things in the conventional reality, or you can see things in the ultimate reality. Now, if you can say that all our unhappiness, suffering is mind generated. right? You think that's true? So no matter what your external condition is, there's something an example, right? Like Ajahn Chai was kind of paralyzed for about 10 years, and everybody thinking he's suffering. But is he actually suffering? That's the question, isn't it? A lot of people, oh, Ajahn Chai, you know, trained so well, now he's like that, he's in a wheelchair, he can't, you know. They thought, oh, he must be suffering. And that's our projection. It's our knowing. If you are that, you must be suffering. Because you want to do this, you want to do that. You can't do this, can't you? Well, Ajahn Chai himself, oh, you know, why is that so what?
If there is no self, then why does the law of karma operate in the way that it does? And why are we responsible for the consequences of our actions or our thoughts?
Someone, sorry,
If there is no self, how does the law of karma work? When we that's the thing with that's why we don't really speak in terms of no self. That's what I said in the beginning. You know, everything has a cause and effect. Everything is conditioned. And karma is in that conditioning. Right? So to end our own suffering, which is mental, we enter into a state of non-self for the purpose of the end of suffering. Right? So in that state of absolute non-self, the mind meets with Nibbana. Right? Okay? The conditioning, the causes of the cause and effect of karma still operate within an arahant as well. So you know in the sutta, the arahant get got by a bull, even mokkhalana, you know. So you know, so it's still the karma still operate. It is only a state of mind, which instead of perceiving the world, perceives Nibbana. And is Nibbana, with remainder. That's what they say. Sa upati sesa Nibbana. So it's the, and what is Nibbana? Equated to emptiness. Right? Separate. Conditioning. Karma, I think. How we are now. That's a result of karma. This body is a result of karma. This conditioning. Whatever the Buddha say, it does not discredit the goodness that people do in society. It doesn't do that. Because of people's conditioning, because of the, if you like, the parami, what they've accumulated, right? Some people become Buddhas, some people become arahant, some people become monks, some people become philanthropists, some people become social workers, some people so the question people say, well, if everybody become monks, then our world will be in big trouble, right? So I say, if everybody becomes engineers, our world will still be in trouble. It's just not possible. The scenario is just not possible, right? Not everybody can become engineer. So not everybody can become right. Okay. So that's
That's a statement that, well, that's the argument which a lot of people put to me. Oh, we all can't become monks, you know. Yeah, of course, we all can become monks. We don't have accumulated. Okay. Any more questions? Half past 6.
Maybe we can do the meditation now.
Sorry. What did Manta say?
Meditation?
Oh, yes, meditation. Hold on. Good, let's go right and to meditation. Right. What we're going to do is a bit of relaxation meditation. Most important thing about meditation is the posture. Right? Our posture is most important in meditation. So when we sit, right, whether you're sitting on a chair or sitting on a floor, most important part is the lower back. Right? You want to push, don't feel that you push your lower back. Push your lower back as far as possible. Then with the shoulders, you open your shoulders to the back so that the tip of your shoulder blade comes together. So in actual fact, you are opening and then turning it down. So that gives you get the chance for the air to go through your lungs easily. And then position your head just slightly below the horizontal from your eyes to your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. And starting from the top of the head, you want to notice whether there are any tension. And if there are any tension, we reduce them. Let go of the tension. Just let the tension cease. And move from the top of the head to the forehead. Notice any tension, release them. To the eyebrows, to the area between the eyebrows. Rest the eyeballs, rest the eye. Come down towards the sinus area. Let go of any tension. Sweep it back to the temple. Down to the ears. Try to relax them. Down cheek to the front of the teeth. Let the lower jaw just hang. And sweep it back to the base of the skull. Release any tension there. Tilt your head slightly forward. Then tilt it back. Tilt it forward again. And then back. This position. Tilt it forward again. And back. And come down to the back of the neck. Release if there's any tension there. down to the shoulders. Pull the shoulders back. See, necessary, pull it back. Imagine the tip of the shoulder blade coming closer together. You'll find that it's much easier to breathe now. Release the tension. Along the spine. Go to the front and release any tension there is in the stomach. Release tension, the intestine. Now let your arms just hang down. You're not carrying your arm, just hanging loose. Down to the pelvis. Release any tension there. Around the lower back. Tension in the thigh. Tension in the release them. Tension in the throat. Now go back to the top of the head. Notice if there's still any tension there. Release the tension. Sweep it down the forehead. Release the tension there. The eyebrow, between the eyebrow, the eye, the sinus area, to the temples, down to the ear, to the front of the face. Relax the lower jaw. Back to the base of the skull. If you feel necessary to tilt the head forward, tilt it forward. If not, just release the tension. Stay there. Down the back of the neck. The shoulders. Pull the shoulders back if necessary. Let the arms hang down by itself. Down the spine to the lower back. Release any tension there. Stomach, intestine, tongue, belly, the thigh, the leg, and the throat. Go back to the top of the head. Notice that there's no tension. Release it. Come down to the forehead. Stay there for a while. Try to smile with the heart. Smile with your heart. Go down to the middle between the eyebrow, come down towards the nose, the sinus area. Then smile with your heart again. Smile with your heart. Sweep it back to the temple, down the ears. And sweep to the front of the feet. Let the jaw drop. Let the jaw just hang down to the back of the neck. Sweep to the front of the throat. Smile with the heart. Smile with the heart. Down the shoulders. Release any tension. Release any tension in the back of the shoulders. And sweep it to the center of the chest. And give a big smile with the heart. Smile as wide as possible with your heart. Just the heart smiling. Sweep it down to the lower back. Release any tension there. Tilt a bit forward if it's necessary. Down, pelvis area, to the thigh, release any tension in there. Release any tension in the legs, the toes. Go to the heart and smile with the heart. Then let that big smile suffuse throughout your whole body. So your whole body, from the head to toes, smiling with the heart. Maintain that smile with the heart. Maintain the smile of the body. Take a few deep breaths. Open your eyes if you're finished with the practice. Okay. Right. I'm going to read a bit, a translation. I've just got this book which I got from Chitters. So they produced a new chanting book from Buddha Monastery. So if you like one, you can, if you go to Amaravati or Chitters, you can get one. These are the chanting that they do, and there are some translation in it as well. So I'm going to a bit of translation. from the Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, which is a characteristic of no self, not self. I'm not going to read all, but I'm going to read because there's a lot of repetition. It starts with usually the five khandhas, form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness. And each of these groups or khandhas, it has something to say about it. What I'm going to read out is just only the feeling part, because that's the thing that we most identify with. Well, most of us, or myself. This one, the Buddha is actually addressing a group of 5 bhikkhus. Right? It says, feeling is not self. If bhikkhus feeling was self, feeling would not lead to affliction. And one might be able to say in regard to feeling, let my feeling be tough, let my feeling not be tough. But since bhikkhus, feeling is not self, feeling therefore leads to affliction. And one is not able to say in regard to feeling, let my feeling be tough, let my feeling not be tough. Well, that's the first part where we think that there is a self that's able to control feeling. Then come to, what do you think about this, bhikkhu? Is feeling permanent or impermanent? Impermanent, venerable sir. But is that which is impermanent painful or pleasurable? Painful, venerable sir. But is it fit to consider that which is impermanent, painful, of a nature to change, as this is mine, I am this is myself? It is not, venerable sir. It goes on to talk about perception, mental formation, consciousness. So it is saying that if it is impermanent, it is painful, of the nature to change, then it is not wise to consider mind. It's not wise to consider this, I am this is myself. And he goes on to say, whatever feeling there is, past, future, present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, whether it is far or near, all feelings should, by means of right wisdom, be seen as it really is. Thus, this is not mine, I am not this is not myself. Right? But it's not just the repetition of what the Buddhas say. It is the investigation. Right? See that this is not mine. I'm not this. This is not myself. This is the conviction of the heart, not the conviction of the mind. And you have to truly see that its nature is impermanent. That it is dissatisfactory. Seeing in this way, bhikkhu, the wise noble disciple become disenchanted with form, become disenchanted with feeling, become disenchanted with perception, become disenchanted with mental formation, become disenchanted with consciousness. Becoming disenchanted, your passions fade away. With the fading of passion, the heart is liberated. With liberation, there comes the knowledge. It is liberated, and they know. Destroyed is birth. The holy life has been laid down. Done is what had to be done. There is no more coming into any state of being. This is third spoke, the Blessed One. Delighted, the group of 5 bhikkhus rejoiced in what the Blessed One had said. Moreover, while this discourse was being delivered, the minds of the 5 bhikkhus were freed from the defilement through clinging no more. Thus ends the discourse on the characteristic of moksha. Alright, shall we start the chanting? Let's see, where is that? Anatta Lakkhana Sutta. Right. Evam me sutam ekam samayam bhakava varanasiyam viharabdi isipatane mi gadaye tatra ko bhakava pancavakiye bhikkhu amantasi rupam bhikkhave anatta rupam jahidam bhikkhave atta apavisa na idam rupam apataya sambhaveya labheta rupe evam me rupam hotu evam me rupam ahosi yasama chakko bhikkhave rupam anatta tassama rupam apataya sambhavati Napcha labhati rupe evam me rupam hotu evam me rupam ahositi Vedana anatta Vedana jahidam bhikkhave atta apavisa Na idam vedana apataya sambhaveya Labheta cha vedanaya evam me vedana hotu evam me vedana mahositi yasama chakko bhikkhave vedana anatta tassama vedana apataya sambhadati nacha labhati vedanaya evam me vedana hotu evam me vedana mahositi sanya anatta sanya jahidam bhikkhave atta apavisaya naya naidam sanya apataya sambhaveya labheta sanyaya evam me sanya hotu evam me sanya mahositi yasama chakko bhikkhave sanya anatta tassama sanya apataya sambhadati nacha labhati sanya evam me sanya hotu evam me sanya mahositi Sankara anatta Sankara jahidam bhikkhave atta apavisamasu Na idam sankara apataya sambhaveyu Labheta sankaresu evam me sankara hotu evam me sankara mahesuti Yasama chakko bhikkhave sankara anatta tassama sankara apataya sambhadati nacha labhati sankaresu Evam me sankhara hontu, evam me sankhara mahavisuddhi. Vijnanam anatta, vijnanam jatidam bhikkhave atta bhavisa. Naidam vijnanam apadaya samvarteya. Labeta ca vijnane. Evam me vijnanam hotu, evam me vijnanam mahositi. Yasamacako bhikkhave vijnanam anatta, tasama vijnanam apadaya samvartati. Najalabhati vijnane evam me vijnanam hotu, evam me vijnanam mahositi. Tam kiman yaktha bhikkhave rupam niccam va aniccham vati. Aniccham bhante yam pananiccham dukkham va tam sukham vati. Dukkham bhante yam pananiccham dukkham viparinama dhammam. Kalam nutam samanupassitum. Etam mama eso hamasami eso me atati. No etam bante tam kimanye thabikabe vedana niccava anicavati. Anicca bante yam pananiccham dukkham va tam sukham vati. Dukkham bante yam pananiccham dukkham viparinama dhammam. Kalam nutam samanupassitum. Etam mama eso hamasami eso me atati. No etam bante tam kimanye thabikabe sanya niccava anicavati. Anicca bante yam pananiccham dukkham va tam sukham vati. Dukkham bante yam pananiccham dukkham viparinama dhammam. Kalam nutam samanupassitum. Etam mama eso hamasami eso me atati. No etam bante tam kimanye thabikabe sankhara niccava anicchati. Anicca bhante yam pananiccham dukkham va tam sukham vati. Dukkham bhante yam pananiccham dukkham viparinama dhammam. Kalam nutam samanupassitum. Etam mama eso hamasami eso me atati. No etam bante tam kimanye thabikabe vijnanam niccam va aniccham vati. Aniccham bante yam pananiccham dukkham va tam sukham vati. Dukkham bante yam pananiccham dukkham viparinama dhammam. Kalam nutam samanupassitum. Etam mama eso hamasami eso me atati. No etam bante tassama pita bhikkhave yang kinci rupam apitana pacupannam accatam va vahita vidava. Olarikam va sukhumam va ilam va panitam va. Yang dure santike va sappam rupam. Netam mama neso hamasamina neso atati. Etam yata bhutam samapanyaya tapapam. Ya kati vedana apitana kata pacupanna acatava pahitava. Olarikava sukumava hidava panitava. Ya dure santikeva สัพพะเวทนานิธัมมมายิโสธัมมัสสมินามิโสอัตตาติเอวเมตัมยถาภูตังสัมมาปัญญายตัตถพังยากัจจิสัญญาอติตานากตาปัจจุปันนังอาจตังวาบาหิตาวาโอลาริกังวาสุขุมังวาหินาวาปานิตังวายันดุเรสันติเกวาสัพพะสัญญานิกัมมมาเนโสหมัสสมินามิโสอัตตาติเอวเมตัมยถาภูตังสัมมาปัญญายตัตถพังอิกิจิสังขาราติตานากตาปัจจุปันนาจัตตัมมาปะหิตาวาโอลาริกังวาสุขุมาวาอินามาปะนิตาวายันดุเรสันติเกวาสัพเพสังขาราเนตัมมมาเนโสหมัสสมินามิโสอัตตาติเอวเมตัมยถาภูตังสัมมาปัญญายตัตถพังยังกินจิวิญญาณังอภิธากาตาปัจจุปันนังอาจัตตังวาปะหิตาวาโอลาริกัมวาสุขุมังวาอินังวาปานิตังวายันดุเรสันติเกวะสัพพังวิญญาณังเนตัมมมาเนโสหมัสสมินามิโสอัตตาติเอวเมตัมยถาภูตังสัมมาปัญญายตัตถพังเอวัมปัสสัมวิลกาเวสุขวะอริยสหโคขับรูปาสัมมินปีนิปินดติเวทนายาปินิปินดติสัญญายาปินิปินดติสังขาระสุปินิปินดติวิญญาณังสัมมิปินิปินดตินิปินดังวิราจัตติวิรากาวิมุจจติวิมุตตัสมินวิมุตตัมอิติญาณัมโหติขีนาจติดุสิตัมพระมัจจริยัมคตัมกรณียัมนาภรัมทิทาตายติปัจจาญาติอิทัมอภูจาภควาอัตตมานาปัญจวิกายภิกขุภควตุภาสิตังอภินันดุมอิมัสสมินจปนาเวยคาราสมินปัญญนามิปัญจวัคคียานัมภิกขุนังอนุปทายะอัสสาเวหิจิตานิวิมุตติวิมุตติสุมิ